All right, we want to bring you a Fox News alert right now on this situation with Attorney General Rod Rosenstein and the news that has been around him all morning now, and this idea that he went to the White House to potentially either tender his resignation or be fired. This is from Sarah Sanders right now. At the request of Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, he and President Trump had an extended conversation to discuss the recent news stories. Because the president is at the United Nations General Assembly and has a full schedule with leaders from around the world, they will meet on Thursday when the president returns to Washington, D.C. Thursday, Kennedy.
Huh, how weird. That sort of plays into my theory that this is all to get Kavanaugh off of the front page and off of
what else is happening
mind.
on Thursday?
Thursday is the dual testimony between Dr. Christine Ford and Judge Brett Kavanaugh, where they're both going to go before the Senate Judiciary Committee. She'll go first and he'll go second. She will publicly make those accusations under oath, and he will answer to them. This is a very dramatic day. This is incredibly pivotal, not only to the Supreme Court, but for Judge Brett Kavanaugh's future career as a jurist. And if this is happening, if Rod Rosenstein might resign, he might get fired on Thursday, it just takes some of the attention away from that.
Wasn't the news that he already had been fired or resigned when it broke this morning? So this, either way, he's in the job until Thursday. This kind of undercuts a lot of the reporting, and I wonder how many sources were actually involved in this reporting.
See, that is the journalism that I'm talking about. I mean, from watching this morning, it was very complicated to figure out who knew what. And, you know, for people who were watching, Fox News was still, you know, we're just kind of reporting it as it's happening, but we're talking about the possibilities because of the article that's come out, because of the conflicts of interest that our reporting showed. But you did have some that had jumped the shark so far that the sharks were on the beach.
It's not a good look. Not a good look for reporters. And they have to decide whether or not, and I don't think Jonathan Swan does this, but for a lot of them, the bar is ethics here, resistance here, and they're going to be able to write history, have history classes on this in the future, and how journalism changed under Trump, and if it can ever come back.
And again, there was always a possibility that they talk today and something comes after the midterm election. I mean,
yeah, that's what I actually thought was going to happen. I mean, Jonathan Swan has been great on a lot of things, so I certainly, and to your point, saying this doesn't, I don't think, undercut him as a reporter here, and it's been quite clear that Chief of Staff John Kelly is quite fond of him. It seems like that's kind of his leak.
A frequent source.
Yes, but I actually thought that Rosenstein would go in there and talk to him and remain in the job. That it would be a clearing of the air, because I think the president has been instructed enough times that firing Jeff Sessions or Rod Rosenstein is incredibly bad for midterm prospects, and that in November there will be a full reevaluation of
and that could be exactly why we saw that leak to the New York Times, that the president knows it would be unwise to fire him ahead of the midterms, and that there are those who are against the president that are leaking to the New York Times and trying to goad him into doing it the same way. Those same people may be the ones who said.
Speaking of leaks, if you have 4 different stories circulating within the White House, and then you see them in 4 different places, you can then see who is a source for which publication. And this may be a way not only of creating chaos and taking Kavanaugh out of front of mind, but also of seeing who is leaking where.